Alright everyone, we continue the festivities today on January 20th. By the way, I'm 33, so yeah, happy birthday to me. I get to witness the rise of the Manchurian asterisk President Beijing Biden. But this isn't about that. This is the Occult video number 278. I wanted to describe a little bit my first totally lucid dream with full self-awareness during the course of it, and it was kind of a mind-blowing, almost a psychotropic experience. If you've never had a fully self-aware dream, it can be really weird. One way to do it is right at the moment that you start becoming aware. Normally it causes like sleep paralysis. You'll feel like a whooshing, like an energetic feeling, like you're being electrified, and usually you wake up within a few seconds. If though you can focus really intently on especially any visual aspect that's there, you can sort of go through it and you lock yourself into that state to the point where sometimes it's difficult to get out of it. And it can actually be annoying. Now, I've had this happen about half a dozen times now. The first time I became self-aware in a dream, and I felt a heavy weight dragging me down. And sometimes people say to snap out of it, you look at your feet. And that's indeed what happened. I started looking down, and then I woke up. The next time I was kind of self-aware, a little bit more, and I could move my hands, and I felt like my body was being slowly twisted, and it was almost like a massage. It was really great. And then not that long ago, I had a much more full lucid dream where I had the ability to move my body fully. This was, I think, a week ago or something like that. Anyway, the other night, I had one that was even more mind-blowing. This time I managed to break through into total self-awareness, so it was like I was literally in the dream, like as an avatar of myself. Although there's still like a shade or a layer between, in this case at least, and I don't know if others can vouch for this, between myself and my dream self. It was almost as though I was watching myself in third person but still controlling myself, if that makes sense. But I could still see my hands in front of me and stuff, and what I figured out that I could do is I could manipulate, I could literally will the things around me to change. So like there was this, I couldn't stop things from like randomly spawning around me, and this eventually I'll explain woke me up. But I could manipulate what was there, and I could spawn things also consciously. There was this like little character, it looked sort of like Pinocchio, I suppose, and it was just sort of jumping around, and I found out that if I like willed it to change form, I made its head smaller, and I was like, well, I wonder what else I can do. So then I decided to expand its head and send it floating up to the ceiling like its head had been inflated like a balloon. And I thought, this is great. This is wonderful. Then I tried to spawn a person because I figured, hey, if I can spawn a dream person, I can talk to myself in a different form. And that would just be like far out, man. That'd be so great. And by the way, I was sober. I mean, I don't even use drugs anymore. So this is more of the strict occult side than anything else. So I focused on empty space next to the dude who was still floating around near the ceiling, and he disappeared. Things have a tendency to randomly spawn into existence and despawn in your dreams. It's almost like a quantum experience. I don't know, maybe you're fiddling around with another dimension and what you're doing is technically affecting another living realm. Wouldn't that be something? So I aimed into the darkness, and I willed a person to be created. I failed at the initial endeavor. I spawned some sort of a being, but it was like it existed half in the second dimension. It was like kind of a warped person made of like shifting rectangles, if that makes any sense. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. I created something possibly in another dimension, if you believe in that sort of thing, but it's not a human. Then I tried to create it again. I said, okay, my flawed creation could go hang around with Balloon Man, except then both of them disappeared as soon as I turned my back. So I tried again, and I managed to spawn like a cartoonish caricature of a person, and it was sort of like a human being, but obviously it wasn't like three-dimensional. I couldn't tangibly interact with it. I was trying to produce something tangible. Because also in the dream, I was able to tangibly interact with things. I could see myself plastered on my own bedroom wall prior, and I could see my own face, and it was warped and like growing extra eyes and psychedelically freaking out and melting and doing weird shit. And I mean, normally in a dream, if you see stuff like that, it can be a little bit scary, but I was perfectly fine with it. But then, unfortunately, avatar, I guess, of my dad spawned on the side of my dream room, which was literally the same bedroom, and it distracted me so much that I ended up snapping out of the dream. Thanks, Dad. But it was literally mind-blowing. And the thing is, like, I was fully aware that I was me and I was asleep and that it was a dream. I was fully able to move around. Like, I could look around in different directions. I could create and destroy things and change its form. It was warped. I hope it happens again, and I learn. I mean, each time this happens, I gain more control over what's happening. I can't wait to get to the point where I can cause it to happen effortlessly and just spend the whole night playing basically a giant video game as though I'm some sort of extra-dimensional god. Yeah, I just figured that I should describe that because I figured it was really cool. Man, if you never had such an experience, it's pretty weird. The one problem is that when you enter that state, I'm assuming you're not in full REM or something, because it makes you feel tired when you snap out of it, like you haven't slept. And indeed, sometimes you wake with a start, and it can be unpleasant, like a jolting sensation. So keeping that in mind, you know, if I were doing that uncontrollably every night, eventually I'd probably have to take fucking sedatives and knock myself out. I'm already an insomniac. I've always had sleep problems and weird shit happen. I've had waking dreams, I've had sleep paralysis, and now occasionally I get full-on lucid dreams. I think the lucid dreams are much more pleasant. That's about all.